and we are underway. It's history repeating itself. This could be it. This could be the moment. The drama that we needed has come right at the end of this race. This is going to be the venue for the 2019 UCI World Championships. As they streak towards the bridge, it's right
representing Sweden, number 56.
Welcome to Bogense for the final race of the UCI 2019 Cyclo-cross World Championships here in Denmark. The crowd is now huge, getting ready to welcome these riders onto this course. Let's take a look at this little seaside town that holds 3,721 people and is enjoying an influx of visitors this weekend. Looking down on the course, and the call-up of the riders has started. 58 riders taking to the start line, ready for today's race. The final race to decide where the final rainbow jersey is going. This is the course, 2.6 kilometers, the same course we've seen in all the races. Twists and turns with the various cambers that we have seen in the last few races. 2.6 kilometers in total. And things are changing because the weather conditions now are wholly different to what they were earlier on. Here's the former world champions. 3 years running, Wout van Aert has been the winner of the world title. Mathieu Vander Poel won in 2015. On the start line, 5 medalists taking to the start. Wout van Aert, Mathieu Vander Poel, Lars van der Haar, Michael van Turenhout, and Francis Murray in his final race. Are we going to see what we expect, or are we going to see the unpredictable? Here's the start list. The riders are called forward, and we're about to get underway. Simon, always the final race gives you those goosebumps. The crowd's as big as it's going to get. And are we going to see the race we're all expecting, or are we going to get the unpredictable?
Well, yeah, we'll tell you in an hour, I think. I honestly don't know. I think, you know, I'm expecting the predictable. There's been 3 riders who've dominated this season. Mathieu Vander Poel, unbeaten in the last 20 races. Wout van Aert, 3 times world champion, been on the back foot all season. And Turenhout won the World Cup and has been kind of one of the revelations of the season. But who can beat Vander Poel? I honestly don't think anybody can, but you know, the favourites have been, I think, 2 out of the 3 races so far we've seen favourites win. Tullet and Pidcock. I think we expected maybe a different winner in the elite women's race. And we expected maybe a different winner in the under-23 women's race. So, you know, it's 50-50 split on the favourites so far. But it's so hard to see past Mathieu Vander Poel in this race.
Well, let's see what happens. There is Wout van Aert as he gets ready. The hair is shaved off. He's ready for action. Michael van Turenhout, who is a medalist last year. Quinten Hermans there on the left-hand side. Michael van Turenhout, the rider who last weekend had that huge scare when he had an allergic reaction to something, was rushed into hospital. Didn't ride the final round of the World Cup. And I spoke to him just about an hour ago. As we see the weather conditions now, 3 degrees centigrade. The wind to me is not 20 kilometers an hour. And Michael, to reassure his fans, says that he's okay, he's ready. He's had more of a rest than he was expecting to have, but he's hoping to have good legs today, and he's up there on the start line. Simon, they're saying 20 kilometers an hour. This wind is not 20 kilometers an hour now.
Doesn't feel like it. No, it's calmed down a lot from this morning. It definitely feels a little bit warmer. The wind's not as bad, so the whole atmosphere just feels a bit warmer to me. But still riders on mud tyres. Van der Poel, Van Aert, both using Dugas Rhinos. It's a full mud tyre day for these guys, and they're off.
Here we go, underway then. And a very fast start from Mathieu Vander Poel, and Wout van Aert having one of the best starts he's had this season. He really is side by side with Mathieu Vander Poel as they go into the first bridge, and Wout van Aert gets in there in second place with Vander Poel in first. That was a tremendous start by Wout, who has had a few really lame starts in the last few weeks. And he's up there and he's pressing already. Lars van der Haar immediately into second place and following the wheels. He was a medalist, of course, in 2013, 2015, 2016. Also having a good start is, I think, up there in the front. Spanish rider having a great start, and the Belgians packing as many riders as they can, with Wout van Aert hoping to get a little bit of assistance up there at the race start as well. So a good start. I think it's Felipe Orts who is up there for Spain. As we go along here, look at the speed of these riders. Vander Poel already, followed by Van Turenhout, who's had a great start in second, followed by Wout van Aert, followed by Lars van der Haar. And the pace is going to be tremendous. We've seen 5 and 6 minute laps. This is going to be very, very quick. But Van der Poel skidding the wheel round that corner already, taking just a second out of Van Turenhout.
Yeah, very fast. All the expected names are up there. Nobody's had a duff start from those front two rows, and as you say, packed with the Dutch and the Belgians.
Packed with the Danish fans.
Danish fans, yeah, look at all those. That's a huge crowd. That looks great. And look how easily they're riding that. Yeah, it's definitely drying out, but the power of those guys takes them over the top without too many problems for the first few riders. It's going to make a difference, that. Further down the field, for sure you can't ride it, but those leaders being able to ride that, suddenly you can see the gaps start to appear, and this bank is, we've seen it all weekend, this is where the gaps are going to start to appear.
Is Lars van der Haar helping Mathieu van der Poel by trying to get in front of Wout, or is he riding his own race?
I think right now he's riding his own race. I think this just needs to settle down a little bit, just to wait and see. I don't think Van der Poel really feels like doing an hour on his own. I'm sure he's capable of it. Whether he actually feels he wants to, I think he still wants to just see what's going on. And he puts Wout on the front just to get a feel. But again, like you said, good start from Van Aert. He's had terrible starts this year. Hasn't been in where he wants to be.
He looks good though, doesn't he?
Yeah, quite often coming from outside of the top 10 and kind of getting back to that front group, which, again, at this level, when he's trying to keep up with somebody like Van der Poel, you can't give that amount of time away on the first half lap. But he's done a good job there, and he's where he wants to be.
He is exactly where he wants to be, on the front. 3 times a world champion. He's been on the podium for 4 years running. Van der Poel, champion, of course, in 15, on the podium in 17 and 18. And Wout van Aert is saying to Mathieu van der Poel and trying to play with his mind, I'm okay today, don't you think I'm a beatable rider? And maybe playing the game that Sanne Cant played a little bit yesterday, which was delivering the unexpected. No one really expected Sanne Cant to win the world title yesterday, but she looked composed and comfortable, and she played the Dutch so well, and that's what Van Aert's doing here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he hasn't had the best season. He's struggled. He's never really put Van der Poel under any serious pressure all year. I think last week in Hoogerheide was the first time, and that was Toon Aert. That wasn't even Van Aert that we saw distancing him during a race and forcing Van der Poel to come back during a race, which we just haven't seen. So, you know, Van Aert is obviously feels like he's able to take it on. And, you know, he's opening gaps. There's gaps between the wheels there. There's people scrabbling to stay in contact. Again, you know, we've done 4 minutes of racing. We've got 56 minutes or 58 minutes or so to go. And but, you know, the right people are in the right place to make it the race that we wanted. The only one that's missing in that first 4 or 5 is Toon Aert.
Yep. Toon Aert is not quite there. He's in 7th place at the moment. But Wout is trying to put Mathieu under pressure. Lars van der Haar is following very nicely indeed. Also up there is Corne van Kessel.
Yeah.
And behind them, Michael van Turenhout, who is desperately trying to stay in the wheels. But after that problem he had last weekend, surely the body has got still the remnants of that shock after being rushed into hospital. Felipe Orts of Spain having a superb start. But apart from that, it's an all-Belgium, all-Netherlands front of the race.
Yeah, very good start by Aert. Came from the second row. The only like you say, non-Belgian, non-Dutch. Toonarts looked like he was going to bridge that. And I think, having said that, he's just about there, yeah, with Quentin Hermans.
Onto the wheel
So,
now.
3 of each right now.
Lars van der Haar attacking hard. The Belgians following immediately. Van der Haar wants to keep this race as hard as he possibly can. So it's Lars van der Haar, Michael van Turenhout. Behind him is Toonarts. Then it's Wout van Aert. Behind Wout van Aert is Corne van Kessel, Mathieu van der Poel, Laurens Sweeck, Felipe Aert in the red and yellow of Spain. And they cross the line with a 5:41 opening lap, 27.3 kilometres an hour.
11-lap race, maybe?
Yep. Let's wait and see what the commissaires decide to do, but they'll call it after lap number 2 when they cross the line. But Lars van der Haar happy to set the tempo here on the front, looking good. Laurens Sweeck moving up. But Mathieu, is he now just going to sit and wait and then hit them hard when he can? Top 10 for you then. Lars van der Haar, Corne van Kessel, Wout van Aert, Toonarts, Mathieu van der Poel, Laurens Sweeck, Michael van Turenhout, Felipe Aert, Quentin Hermans, Tim Merlier is the top 10 in this race at the moment. Thanks very much for all the messages at Simon Burney, at AntMacrossNat, UCI_cycling. And there's a few of you messaging in already. Steph Sithlington enjoying the racing. Hendrik Lemmer, how's the wind? Alex Hecht wants to know. It's not windy at all. It's dropped totally. It's sunny and it's a lot warmer. Dan Brock cheering on the USA as we see Toonarts now going to the front, the winner of the World Cup after that tremendous performance last week in Hoogerheide, and now taking the race on. Oh, Mathieu having a big slip round that corner. And now he's having to use one match to get himself across. And this is the problem on this course, Simon, isn't it? Because I was talking to Marianne Vos in the break, and she said, if you thought that the Dutch could do anything yesterday, team-wise, to win that race and beat Sanne, then there was no way. She said she was absolutely on her limit. She had nothing left to give. She said there was not another 1% she had left. She gave Lucinda Brand a big help to get across, because she knew Lucinda was stronger. She said, but apart from that, I had nothing, because we were all on our absolute limits. That's what this course does.
Yeah, and I think you could see that yesterday with Marianne, and that turn she did to try and get Brand back to the front was phenomenal. Yeah. You could see that, and it's going to be interesting to see if we need some dedicated teammates like that in this race, because both Dutch and Belgians have got firepower in abundance here, and it's going to be interesting to see if and when Vander Poel makes a move and how it all plays out tactically, because you know, you look at that, you've got 4 of each at the front. That Spaniard, Felipe Aert's doing an amazing ride to stay there, but, you know, right now he's a spectator. He's not going to get involved in this. He's just going to sit and watch and try to hang on to those coattails as long as he can. And there's an anxious dad, Adrie van der Poel.
Winner of this race title in 1996. There's some anxiousness in this Dutch squad, and normally Mathieu does all his race interviews on the finish line, and every time he speaks to every journalist and then he says hello, and today he was more focused and a bit more nervous than normal.
Wout shouting at the pit crew there. Interesting to find out. He's probably going to go in for a bite, whether it was tyre pressure, tyre choice, but definitely had a word with his mechanic.
What did you notice on the start line in terms of any choice of equipment? Anything other than those tyres?
Mud tyres for these guys. And the interesting one, for those a little bit old school, in his last race, Francis Moret, still racing on cantilevers.
Is he? But he's only one of 5 medalists to be on the field. 2006, he was a medalist in the World Championships. Toonarts talking to Wout van Aert. The Belgians are riding together, and the Dutch behind them. 3 Dutch riders all in a line. They are absolutely on their game today, aren't they?
Van der Poel rode the camber. I think that's the first time we've seen that. Lars van der Haar as well. It's definitely dried out a little bit, but the mud tyre choice is an interesting one.
Yeah. Why would they choose mud tyres?
Well, they obviously feel that extra grip is worth the small sacrifice in speed on the long straights. But it's, you know, we've seen Vander Poel already sliding his back wheel around a couple of the corners, and that's on a mud tyre. So it still shows it's slippery out there. It has dried out a little bit, but it's, you know, it's not the ice that we saw, the frozen ground that we saw on Saturday's races. And this morning, we've still got some of the residue from yesterday's rain. But yeah, the sun's come out. The winds were strong this morning. It's definitely dried it out a little bit, but yeah, that's good. That's wow. You know, that's what we wanted to see. Some teamwork there. Wow, looking round, letting Toonarts ride away, get a little gap, forces Vander Poel to chase.
Vander Poel now chases him down. Toonarts, as Brandon just pointed out as well. We talked about the bike last weekend. Toonarts on his new Belgian Champions bike. It's been delivered by Trek last Friday to him. And he is riding on that, this kind of chrome, red, yellow and black bike as they make their way across to complete lap number 2. And Toonarts alongside Mathieu Van der Poel. 5.35 kilometres have now been completed, and the Belgians are attacking as hard as they can. Laurens Sweeck now goes to the front, allowing Mathieu Van der Poel to rock onto the wheel. 11 minutes have gone by. And the Belgians trying to disrupt the Dutch all of the time. Lap number 2 completed, and the lap time that time was a 5:45, and that was 27.09 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, I think the Belgians don't want any more Dutch to come across to that group. I think they're quite happy with a little bit of a power in numbers there. 4 against 3. And that one extra one could just make a difference, and they didn't want it to slow down, and maybe for, yeah, Joris Nieuwenhuis or one of the others, to even David Van der Poel, to come across to that group. Wait and see who's the next chasing group. But I'm impressed with Felipe Orts. That Spaniard just...
He's there, isn't he?
He's there. That's great. We saw him 2 years ago in Luxembourg do a great ride when he medalled.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing really well.
Yeah, he's still shouting at this mechanic. That's interesting. See what's going on. Well, I don't think we're going to know, but...
is he having a tyre decision or something like that?
I'm sure it's either tyre or tyre pressure.
He came out on the wheel of Corne van Kessel, no, Toonarts, and now he's going back up on the wheel. He's really focused. He wants to be on Mathieu Van der Poel's wheel. He nudges Corne van Kessel out the way, gets onto the wheel of his teammate, who he knows isn't going to leave a gap. He's working his way back up to the wheel of Mathieu Van der Poel. So at the moment, Van Turenhout, Sweeck, Van der Haar, Mathieu Van der Poel, behind him Toonarts, then Wout van Aert on the best race of his season so far by the looks of things. And the attacks going out of every single corner. Simon, we talked to quite a lot of riders. They say there's no rest, 0 rest on this course. You just have the odd little time where you get a tiny rest around a corner, but then you're sprinting back out of it. So literally your body is under massive demands, as we see a problem for Laurens Sweeck. Little slide, and Wout van Aert had to get past him as he tries to get his foot back in the pedals.
Yeah, Laurens Sweeck, that was trying to get his foot back in. Obviously, this sticky mud, we saw it on the top of the camber section, that the riders kicking the pedals to try and get the feet back in. It's quite sticky. And gravel as well. They put some gravel down for the ice on Saturday, and the gravel's mixing with the mud and just kind of clogging cleats on the shoes.
This is some race at the moment. It literally is full gas in here.
This is full on, and we've been racing for 14 minutes. Sometime this front group is going to probably get to the road and just go, right, let's just have a breather and have a calm down and see what's going on, because 48 more minutes of this is probably undoable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely on the limit right now. Wout van Aert concentrating hard. He seems to be okay. Van der Poel now trying to go to the front. Van Turenhout matches it immediately. One of the Dutch is starting to feel the pressure, which looks to me like Corne van Kessel. So at the front, it's Van der Poel, Van der Haar, Toonarts. Here's the replay of Mathieu. Wout didn't have such a good jump this time. He's okay.
Good to see Van der Haar dismounting for those. He always worries me when he... and Toonarts having a word with the pit as well. There's... there's something either changing or something that doesn't feel right from what they saw in the pre-ride. You know, they've made a tyre and tyre pressure decision based on the pre-ride before the under-23 women's race. And, you know, maybe they're feeling that the mud tyre's not the one. Maybe they're going to happy to go back on the intermediate and go a little bit faster. I don't think we're going to know the full story until after this race, because we can't get any word from the mechanics in the pits.
It's going to be a 12-lap race we're going to get. And Vander Poel is trying to exert his influence now, while Wout van Aert is a long way back. And he goes onto this camber section, and we know he can ride the entire way. He's opening up a little bit of a gap. There goes Vander Poel. This is a big attack, and Lars van der Haar looks around and he freewheels and he lets Vander Poel go. Big attack by the Dutchman to go clear. And that just shows the technique of Mathieu van der Poel. He's opened up a couple of seconds, and Van der Haar immediately stopped.
Yeah, smart riding by Van der Haar. Just sat up, looked round, and put a Belgian back on the front. And that shows that they are riding as a team.
Suddenly, there's a couple of seconds. The Belgians have got to do something. Van der Haar again disrupting the chase of the Belgians as they went round the corner. Well, Wout van Aert has got to do something, because Van der Poel is on a mission. He's attacked with a furious attack, and he's used that camber section where he's able to ride more than anyone, and that's how he's opened up this gap. Here's the replay. Look at this. No one else was able to ride, and he just went. Van der Haar did ride.
Van der Haar rode, yeah, and really well as well.
Van der Haar almost rode it.
Yeah.
But Van der Haar, look at that, freewheel time.
Yeah.
Game over as far as he's concerned.
Two Aert just didn't quite get that right.
Toon Aert is desperately trying to close this gap on Van der Poel, but he's one of the fastest road riders in the world now as well. Coming up to 8 kilometres, 3 laps of racing, and Van der Poel is giving this absolutely everything he can. Wout van Aert in the wheel, look at that, the face tells the story. Van der Poel's just put in a 5:35 lap, the fastest lap by 6 seconds. And his average speed nearly 28 kilometres an hour. Can they bring him back? Because if they do bring him back, this is going to be a problem for Van der Poel.
Well, I think it depends if they bring him back and if they can do that, and that Toon Aert is burying himself trying to do that. It's whether one of the other Belgians could immediately throw an attack in, because then Van der Haar's just going to sit on that one. So we're just going to need to wait and see on this. He's definitely taken seconds out since that finishing straight, Toon Aert. He really put a huge effort in down there.
Can he bring this back now? He can see Van der Poel in front of him.
He needs to bring it back almost before the banks, because
otherwise
Van der Poel technically on that bank is, yeah, he's class. He's not going to slip up on that one, I don't think.
I think the Belgians are prepared to just sacrifice riders to ensure a Belgian victory. And Van der Poel now has got a little bit of daylight. Is it enough? It's around 5 seconds. Can he get to the hill and camber section with this lead intact? The crowd urging him on. He gets around the corner, puts the power on yet again. He knows if he can just keep going, a problem.
Just stuff like that, Toon Aert, you know, it's just these little half seconds here and there that Toon Aert, and it's not just here, it's been week after week that Van der Poel has just been flawless on courses, able to ride, not putting his foot down, and, you know, Toon Aert sliding, you know, even Wout van Aert sliding around there.
Onto the hill now. Wout van Aert climbs well. He's trying to get Van der Poel back. He knows he's got to do it himself. Comes skidding down there. Here goes Van der Poel, and now he knows he's being chased by Wout van Aert. He's up the hill. Van Aert trying to get as far up there as he possibly can. This is crunch time for the Belgians. Van der Aert did the perfect team job. He did everything that was asked. Van der Poel still with his lead intact. A few seconds. Can he break Wout van Aert, who just rode so well at the beginning? He's edging him in. He's coming closer. Can he get there? Freewheeling into the next turn. He doesn't want to make a mistake. Round the corner, Van der Poel already over the hurdles. Critical point in the race right now. Has Van Aert got it in this body to win the world title again? pressure moment, Simon.
Huge pressure, and I think Toonarts has paid for that big effort and those couple of little mistakes that he did make that have put him distanced now by Van Aert and Michael van Toornout and Lars van der Haar. And Wout van Aert really needed a Laurens Sweeck or a Michael van Toornout to help him out here, because on his own it's just a drag race with Vander Poel. Van Toornout's looking round at Van der Haar, and that's not going to do any good at all, because he's not going to come through.
No,
he's quite happy to sit there.
He had the instructions. They knew what they were going to do, and he carried it out to perfection. And from point number one in the race, Van der Haar was there to disrupt. He was always there. We came through at the very beginning. He got onto the wheel of Vander Poel. He made sure that he was there and he was sorted. And then when the time came for Vander Poel to launch his attack, Van der Haar just said, there we go, that's the tactic, and you haven't seen it, Belgians, and we've played it out, and we've played it out perfectly. Here's the critical point in the course. Can Van Aert ride this and get back to Vander Poel? He has to ride this perfectly. There goes Van Aert. Can he get up onto the tarmac without getting off the bike? He does. He's ridden a perfect moment there. Van Aert's coming back.
It feels like a couple of seconds have come out of that gap. Both of them, like you said, they needed to be able to ride that. That's where the gap formed last lap. And Van Aert, he's bringing it back. It's half a second at a time, but he's not letting it go. And the gap behind him is growing. So
it is.
Right now, it's these two.
Van Aert back on the bike. We'll see what the gap is. It's still 5 seconds. But can he close it? He's almost there. Look at this. It's literally man-oh-man right now between these two riders. It's what we wanted to see. Van der Poel's gone so early. We're talking a 12-lap race, and I think Van Aert is going to be on his wheel. And when he gets there, he's not going to do anything, is he? He's just going to sit and say, thanks very much, I'm here now.
Well, if he makes it, I don't think we can have 8 more laps of this pressure and intensity with just a few seconds in between them. The elastic's either going to snap, and it's going to go out to that 15-20 second that Van der Poel likes to have, or it's going to come back and they'll both take a breather, because both of them have been absolute 100%. And I think
he's there.
This is going to happen on the finishing straight.
Well, we're at the end.
They do need to take a breath, because that has been intense for 22 minutes. That has been full on.
That's the first time, really, this season we've seen Van Aert able to match Van der Poel's attacks. And he's done it. And Van Aert looks around.
And fair play to Van Aert. That was impressive to come back to that. That would have been relatively easy to say, well, that's the best rider in the world, and I'm going to go for second, and he didn't.
We do have a race on our hands. Here comes the chasing group, but they're quite a long way back.
But look at the damage they did in that half lap to that group. You know, close to 25 seconds there, 24 seconds.
They're all looking at each other because the Dutch are happy and the Belgians are happy, and the Spanish rider is the only one who isn't, and he's going to try and go for a medal and give Spain a medal in the World Championships. Playing into the hands, playing off the tactics of the Belgians and the Dutch. So what's going to happen next? Thanks for all your messages. Martin de Gersony wants to know, why is the course 2.6k? It is a short course.
Yeah,
there's no limit, is there?
2.5 to 4.5. They actually don't have any more space to make it any longer. It's such a small, compact area that they've got for this championships that they just couldn't fit any more in, I don't think.
Into the pits for Toonarts. He did a tremendous job to get Wout van Aert back to near the front. Chad Brown enjoying us talking about tyre choices. Darren Scott, will the riders ride for each other? Have you seen Darren? They have ridden for each other.
I think the other thing with the course length, that this weather has been slightly different. This lap could have quite easily been another 30, 40 seconds longer, with the banks being runs and the long flat straights that we're seeing now quite fast. If that was muddy, if we'd had, 10 degrees and some rain in the week previously, this would have been a totally different course. I think that would have been your regular 9-lap, 10-lap race. The weather conditions in the last few days have just added to the speed of this race.
Van Aert on the front. Sandy and Kathy Gilchrist watching. Hello to Sandy. Such an experienced mechanic. He built one of my first bikes years ago.
He's built everybody's bike, Anthony.
Steve Glennon, this is like a track race. It is such a fast race. And so many other people messaging us in. Thanks to all of you for joining us over this weekend. We really appreciate it. So the front of the race is 2 riders. The rest of the riders behind chasing the bronze. Let's update you on some other nationalities while we've got them here at the front of the race. The first Swiss rider, Timon Rugg, at 22nd. Simon Zahner, 24th. Curtis White of USA is 25th right now. Francis Moret in his final race of France, 26th. Behind them, Kerry Werner of USA, 30th. Stephen Hyde, 31st. Michael Vandenham of Canada, 33rd. David Eriksson of Sweden is up in the top 40 riders. Ian Field of Great Britain, 38th. And Japan, represented by Hikura Kosaka, 51st at the moment. That gives you an update on some other of the nationalities on today's race. We're on lap number 5 of the 12.
So we've had some word from the pits, thanks to Jose Bean, that the Belgians are staying on the mud tyres, staying on the Dugas Rhinos, but they've been asking the mechanics to put some more pressure in them. So maybe they're bottoming them out on the descents off these flyovers and the bridges. So they're going to go for a little bit more security, I think, but maybe not quite as much grip, with a little bit more pressure.
On the front, Mathieu van der Poel. James Fedzoff saying if he was Wout, he'd be pulling some Sven-style brake checking at this point. Oh, another attack. Van der Poel testing out Wout van Aert again. This is his place on the course, where he just tries to steal the... Oh, a mistake by Wout van Aert. Van der Poel knows that that is the point where he is better every single time.
Technically, he's been better all season, and that shows it. That's the proof right there. That, you know, 10 times out of 10, 11 times out of 11 for this race, he can do that. And we saw Toonarts mess it up, and we've seen Wout not quite make it, and it's just a really small difference that gives you that gap. And look what Wout's got to do now. He's got to close another 3 or 4 second gap.
And he doesn't want to be doing this every lap. Again, he's got to try and find some traction. He goes to the grass. Here's the mistake. Not a mistake. I mean, just the wheel slides out. And it's just, look at that. Where the point where Van der Poel's able to slide the tyre to the left and hold it, Wout slides and can't hold it. It's just that tiny, tiny ability. Amazing to watch. That's the difference. Sven Nys said the other week, I was talking to him in Zolder, and he said the difference is Mathieu can take 1 second on a couple of corners and suddenly he's gone. That's the only difference between these riders. As he comes up to complete lap number 5, and Wout is not there. As he comes round the corner, well, look at that. There's the gap this time, and Wout is absolutely on the limit on the drops, desperately trying to get back on terms. And that lap was a 5:44, so a slower lap by 8 seconds, but it doesn't matter. It's just one tiny little change on one lap, and that's it. That's all the difference. 5 seconds. I keep saying it, but it is. Every time that he takes 1 second on a little incline, it's 5 seconds by another checkpoint. Can he bring him back? Yeah,
this is going to hurt Van Aert now to try to close this one. That was such a big effort to do it a lap ago. And there wasn't really an awful lot of respite to get a recovery in before this. No bike change.
No, he's just got to keep going.
They've obviously figured this one out now, whatever the issue was.
Again, it's another race on this flat section where Wout is quick. Now he's 5 seconds behind, he's got something to chase, but every time that Mathieu steals that couple of seconds on that camber section, it's just going to be a big chase every single time for Wout. There he is, he comes around the corner, he can see him on the other side. Lots of you asking, and I'll just say once, what happened with the marriage proposal of yesterday. He said yes, so we have a World Championship wedding after the proposal during the women's race yesterday. Look at this. Oops, a problem on the other side for one of the Australian riders hitting the deck, about to be lapped by Vander Poel. But the gap is going out. Chad wants to know, what's the percentage of people with Santa-coloured hats in the audience versus other hats? Big bobble hats are doing a massive trade right now around here. There's the gap between these two riders. Wout is just trying to limit his losses at this moment in time. Alan Power, thanks for your message. Thanks for watching. Manolo, thank you for watching, and ciao to your dad too. Down the descent, Wout van Aert on a race against the best rider in the world this season, Vander Poel, who has won so many of the World Cups. He won Bern, he won Tabor, he won Koksijde, Namur, Zolder, and he won Hoogerheide last week. And he's jumping these barriers, these hurdles like nothing else. Wout is absolutely on his limit. He's done everything he possibly can. These two riders have been opponents all the way through under 23s, juniors, and Vander Poel just seems to have that slight edge. It's the story of the season, isn't it? Vander Poel being chased by Wout van Aert or Toon Aerts all season. Look at the face on Wout.
Yeah. No, this is hurting. This is hurting everybody. This isn't Vander Poel riding away by a minute in the first half of the race and looking like he's breathing through his nose and keeping his mouth closed. This has been intense.
Well, you know how much Wout van Aert can hurt himself. If you've never watched the end of Strade Bianche last year, where he literally rode himself to a standstill on the final climb into Siena, his legs literally buckled. He got off the bike. He couldn't stand, and somehow he finished. We know that he can put himself through more pain than most riders, but yet Vander Poel is still riding away. He's through these couple of turns. Half an hour of racing has gone by. We're expecting a 1 hour race, and it literally has been on the limit from the start. There goes Vander Poel across this canvas section, kicks it up, and that's where he's making the difference.
Absolute perfection. Taking so much speed into it, and yeah, we talk about him taking speed, and it's just the difference. One little section of the course makes the difference between first and second at this level. It's huge.
That is the only place that Wout van Aert is lacking. Apart from that, he has got himself in perfect condition. He looks strong, he looks fast, he looks focused. Mentally, he's as good as he's been all year. But that one little bit where Vander Poel does this little kick up onto the tarmac, Van Aert cannot hold it.
Van Aert needs to come and do a couple of mountain bike seasons like Vander Poel did. Get the technique down.
Here's the difference. Look at that. He just can't hold it. And at that point, Vander Poel has obviously ridden the course and checked that he can just kick it up onto the tarmac. He takes almost a right turn up onto the tarmac, and then he's off. Van Aert, look at him. He's totally on his limit. Vander Poel back down the hill. End of lap number 6 of 12. We're at the midway point, and Vander Poel is on his own. Coming around the corner with 15.75 kilometres of racing completed. This year in the World Cups, we've been used to Vander Poel just riding away. As Simon said, he's not ridden away today. He's been matched. But he's just worked it out today. He's worked out where do you win this race, and he's sussed it totally. Across the line, a 5:37 lap, the second fastest lap of the race so far, 27.72 kilometres an hour. Van Aert this time, he's going to come across the line. I think it's going to be 14 seconds. 14 seconds the deficit.
Yeah, and 14 seconds at this level on this course with these two riders that's a big ask to close that one. We saw the effort it took Van Aert to close that 5 or 6 seconds on lap 3, lap 4.
Here's the train behind Lars van der Haar leading. Behind him, Laurens Sweeck. The Belgians won't be entirely happy with this now. Philippe Aert still in with a chance of a medal for Spain. Sitting on the back of the rest of the group. 8th overall, through the line that time.
I think Toon Aert's making that mistake early on really cost the Belgians that opportunity of having two riders trying to match Vander Poel in this race.
Yeah,
I think he slipped up on that camber the lap before Vander Poel got away, and I think that just made a huge difference to the dynamic of it was just one against one, and I think the Belgians really needed two up there to take it to Vander Poel.
yeah, because if they hadn't had to sacrifice Toon Aert, they would have been able to just play the game, and they could have matched him.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah. Easy for us to sit here and say that.
Yeah.
Again, you know, technically, Van Aert and Toon Aert, you know, they're not at the level of Vander Poel, and where he's taking his time is on the technical section, and physically, you know, I'm sure they've both got the horsepower to deal with it, which is, yeah, I think it's got to be frustrating for the Belgians watching this, because it's on a 2.6k circuit. It's probably 20 meters that's making the difference.
It is. Wout van Aert hasn't given in. He's still trying. So the top 10 at the moment, Mathieu van der Poel by 17 seconds now on Wout van Aert. Then it's Toon Aerts, Corne van Kessel, Lars van der Haar, Philippe Aerts, Michael van Turenhout, Laurens Sweet, Jens Adams, Marcel Miezen. 11th is Joris Nieuwenhuis, then Michael Boros of the Czech Republic. First American rider, Curtis White, in 24th place now. Kerry Werner in 30th. Stephen Hyde in 31st. And the first Canadian, 36th, Michael van den Ham. Van Aert has just got no answer on that little section. In terms of him keeping his second place, I think at the moment that's pretty well assured. But Van der Poel is riding this with intensity and with focus as he goes into the pits and picks up another bike. Clean bike for Van der Poel this time. Sue Butcher, your heart wanted Van Aert to win it, but you can see that Van der Poel technically is so much better. Glasses come off for Wout van Aert. It's not that he's just head and shoulders above Wout van Aert. All he's done is sorted out that one little bit of the course, and maybe tyre choices had something to do with it.
Well, they're both on the same tyres. Tyre pressure might have had something to do with it. They're both on exactly the same grip. But again, you know, the two of the Belgians going in asking for more tyre pressure.
Now, there's an awful lot of still chat going on about yesterday and Lucinda Brand, and those of you still saying that Simon's view of that wasn't quite correct. Read Lucinda's interview on Cycling News and you'll see that she even agrees. As we work our way across here, Wout's having to get off and again get back on the bike, and that's what's cost him at the moment the gold medal position. As he looks down off this bank, he will see Mathieu already working his way along the bottom of the course. I mean, Wout's had a couple of moments this season where we've seen the signs of his greatness previously. When he won Pontchâteau, that was a moment of the season when his morale started to come back. He's had so many trials with his contract negotiations and things, and it has to play on your mind.
Sure, and he won Pontchâteau without Van der Poel being there, and it's you know, he needed that win for his confidence, but I think at the back of his mind he always knew that Van der Poel wasn't there. And every time this season that he's come up against him, you know, Van der Poel has just put him away. And you know, we've come into this wanting a race, but I think everybody wants Van der Poel to win this, because it would be a travesty if he didn't. The season he's had, we don't see it very often that a rider can win. What's he done? 25 races,
yeah,
20 in a row. You know, it's so exceptional.
It is.
You know, any other rider in Rainbow Stripes wouldn't quite feel right. But having said that, we still wanted you know, we still wanted Wout to come out with a day that we know he's capable of, and I think he has.
Yeah,
I think he's stepped up. You know, he's at a level where he's been able to match Vander Poel around a lot of this.
8 seconds slower that lap for Mathieu van der Poel. There had to come a point where he had to slow down a little bit. Wout van Aert, though, at 16, 19 seconds this time. He was at 14 seconds last time. So the gap is starting to grow. And it literally is, Simon, that 5 seconds on that one little bit that's costing him every single lap. He takes 5 and then it translates into 14 or 15 seconds, but he is limiting it a little bit. It's only gone out the 5 seconds of the adverse camber this time. Toon Aerts is going for bronze. He's attacked the group behind, and we have got the top 3 riders in the world. And sometimes you say that in some disciplines in cycling you don't necessarily get a world champion who's the best rider in the world on the day. But here we have a total reflection of the best 3 riders in the world. This is how it's been all season.
Exactly that. We've seen so many podiums with these 3 riders. Second and third have switched around a bit, but the man in orange has always been on the top step. And, you know, if this is how it ends up in 20 minutes' time, then I think it is. It's a fair reflection on the season, and I think it's an accurate representation of who's on top in men's elite sport at the moment.
Mathieu van der Poel round the next twists and turns. Behind him, Wout van Aert is about to just go round that loop. Can he find anything? Can he recover a little bit? Oops, another mistake by Wout van Aert, having to take his foot out round that corner. Meanwhile, Mathieu is already working his way along the top of the course, dropping down to his right-hand side. Another little look here at Wout as he leans the bike over, and it's just... he's so tired with the intensity of the effort. Mathieu's still got the glasses on, he's still relaxed, he's still comfortable. And that's the difference. His composure now at the front is there. And Wout is having to go firmly into the position that your body is just screaming for you to stop. And he just can't. He's just got to stay there. He's got to try and hold on to the silver medal position, which I think he will. But Toon Aerts is coming back. He's 24 seconds behind him now. Big hurdle then for Mathieu van der Poel. It's been a long time since he wore the rainbow bands. And we talk about, he took that first title in 2015.
Yep.
And he's not worn it since, and we've seen a desperately disappointed Van der Poel every year.
We have. I think Luxembourg was the one where, well, in Zolder we saw the big tangle between Van Aert and Van der Poel when he got his pedal stuck in his wheel.
Yep.
And then in Luxembourg we saw 7 flat tyres, I think, for Van der Poel.
Yeah.
That totally changed the whole race there. And then I think last year Van Aert was outstanding there in Valkenburg.
Van der Poel on the front. He's got so many bikes today. I went to his camper van, and I don't know how many bikes he has got there. It's incredible. Just leaving nothing to chance at all.
I think his brother shares the same camper, so there might have been some of
yeah,
some
there
of
would
his.
Be some of his, but they still had a lot.
No, he's
of bikes.
got a lot. I think is it something like 8 bikes and 28 pairs of wheels or something? It's
incredible.
You could equip a small team with the equipment for these top guys.
Here we go. Watch him. There we are. Kicks it up onto the top yet again.
Flawless.
So impressive. He hasn't hardly had to get off the bike apart from these little run-ups. Wout van Aert round the next corner. Second place for him. If you're just joining us now, Mathieu van der Poel is the leader of this race. He has an advantage of 25 seconds on Wout van Aert, who was with him all the time, but it's this one tricky little section that is costing Wout van Aert the chance to fight for the rainbow bands. Behind them, Toon Aerts is on his own at 47 seconds. Then a group that contains Lars van der Haar, Michael van Turenhout, Laurens Sweeck and Felipe Orts of Spain, who is the rider, maybe the surprise in the top 10 at the moment. Riding a great race for Spain and maybe about to get his highest position in a World Championships. looking good. Lars van der Haar leading that little group behind. Toon Aert's working his way down the descent. The winner of the World Cup has had a bike change recently. And there's quite a lot of mud, so there will be bike changes, a lot more than we've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely bikes are picking the mud up and it's getting in the gears, and for sure they'll be going in 2 or 3 times in this race to get clean bikes. Again, you know, we talk about that camber, the corner after the camber where they remount, or Van der Poel doesn't, he rides on the top road, and then the very tight left-hander. Again, the speed that Van der Poel takes into that corner is just another second or so quicker than the Van Aert and Toon Aert's, and it's all those little sections that are adding to this lead. And it's been that story this year. I think the one that stood out for me was Zonhoven in the sand, where Van der Poel was so impressive in the sand, and he's consistently 9-10 laps doing exactly the same thing, dismounting in the same place, and Van Aert and Toon Aert's trying to ride things and just making a mistake, putting a foot down, scooting along, pulling on the fence posts. And all those little seconds here and there have just added up for Van der Poel over the season, and, you know, just giving him this exceptional run of victories. 26
seconds now is the deficit to Wout van Aert. He finally takes his glasses off and throws them into the pits. Toon Aert's now in third, who comes across the line at 46. So Toon Aert's now is closing in a bit. He's 20 seconds behind Wout van Aert.
Not quite sure who Laurens Sweeck's trying to get to give him a turn down the finishing straight. I don't think Van der Haar is going to do too much, and certainly Van Toornout's not. And the Spaniard quite happy to sit there and watch proceedings and see how far he can get in this race. But so far, that Spaniard has been outstanding.
He has, certainly has. 7th at the moment. Thanks for all your messages at Ant McCrossan, at Simon Burney, at UCI_cycling. Hello to Team Hungary, who are all hungry and watching the racing right now. So whoever's making the food at the barbecue, or whatever you're having, get on with it so that they're less of Team Hungry and they can just enjoy the race. The fast-moving Mathieu van der Poel still ahead. Lap number 9 of 12. Mandy de Beer says, what tyre pressure would Mathieu be on today? Any idea? Well,
I haven't got the exact one, but I would guess around here 18, 19 PSI, probably just under that 20 mark.
So there's the answer. And they're both riding the same tyres. Those of you asking, the Australians, Chris Aitken 46th at the moment, Gary Milburn 53rd. That's the current position of the Australians, for those of you fighting and shouting for the Australians. Lap number 9 of 12 laps. Wout van Aert still trying, hoping that something happens up front. Mathieu van der Poel, meanwhile, just riding with total focus. You could see that at the race start. He wasn't speaking to anyone, he didn't have to. He was just completely in the zone. And he's riding away from a rider who's able to hurt himself a lot, who's able to just be in the red zone for a long time, who went away, did his training camp in the sunshine to try and get morale and get form. He's had to deal with all the contract problems of leaving his team, and still he's up here at the top of the world. It shows how classy Wout van Aert is as a bike rider. But he can't close in on Mathieu van der Poel, who is now 28 seconds ahead. Is there any danger here of Toon Aert's catching Wout?
What's the gap right now?
Only 19 seconds
19 still pretty big, I think. I would say unless Van Aert has some kind of problem, I would say not. I think they're quite evenly matched technically and physically around here. If it was that kind of 5 to 10 seconds, you could maybe, I think if you could see them on the straights, it would be a different story. I think right now he's not going to see him in sight other than across the course. Oh, that's the first time we've seen him slide on that.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every single time he's ridden that absolutely perfectly. Ian Field of Great Britain, for those of you asking, 39th at the moment. Bounces it down onto this bridge, and you have to be a bit careful whacking it into the bottom of the bridge and off the bridges as well. As Helen Wyman told us earlier, lots of people puncturing by hitting those slopes. Here's a replay, the first time that Vander Poel has had a problem on that camber. Signs of a bit of tiredness.
Yeah, maybe tiredness and just an incredibly slippery section of the course. I think everybody else is showing how slippery it is. I think we've been fortunate to have a masterclass of camber riding from Mathieu Vander Poel on that one.
Over the top then, and Wout van Aert. We've got so used to him wearing the rainbow bands over the last 3 years. And he's shown full respect to the rainbow jersey, the way he's prepared, the way he's fought, the way he took this race on early doors with the Belgian team. But that little error that's cost him so far, the gap to Mathieu Vander Poel, he's just going to probably replay that in his mind over and over. Breathing so heavily. Toon Aert, the head and shoulders are going everywhere. These riders have been absolutely on the limit since lap number 1, as Vander Poel crosses the line to complete lap number 9. And he does in a 5:46. So his laps in the last few laps have gone 5:35, 5:36, 5:44, 37, 45, 44, 46. So quick.
So quick and still consistent. Those last 3 laps within a couple of seconds is... yeah, it's impressive riding. That lap consistency. You talked about it with Tom Pidcock in the under-23 race. It's that ability to do multiple laps within a couple of seconds, but then be able to throw one in 5-7 seconds faster to get a gap in a race.
Just to give you a kind of a view of the lap times of Tom Pidcock. Tom Pidcock's 5th lap was a 5:44. It was his fastest lap. It was exactly the same time as Mathieu Vander Poel's lap number 5 at a 5:44. Mathieu's just been able to put in 2 laps of 5:35, 5:36 and a lap of 5:37. That's the difference. But Pidcock rode a 5:44 when he attacked to go away and to win the under-23 world title. And his laps pretty much always were 5:55, 5:57, that sort of lap time, compared to now where Mathieu Vander Poel is lapping 5:46s pretty consistently without any problem at all. That just gives you an idea of the comparison between the elite rider winning at the moment and the lap times of a winner of an under-23 title. Just to give you another comparison for the juniors, Ben Tullett's fastest lap was a 5:53, but the wind was a lot stronger when he rode. So was it stronger for Tom Pidcock yesterday. So lap times are not significantly slower than Vander Poel, but it's Vander Poel's acceleration when he takes the gap. That 5:36 lap has been the big difference. Lap number 10 of 12. Whilst Vander Poel has been out in the lead for a long time, it still feels like we've had a race.
Well, yeah, I think we did until it kind of got to that 20-25 second mark, and then suddenly that's such a hard gap to close unless there's a problem that it's... yeah, I think until that point, we definitely did have a race. But I think once we saw that Van Aert wasn't going to come back that second time, then that's all Vander Poel needs to ride away. And once they got 15-20 seconds, he can feel a little bit more confidence and a little bit more comfortable. I'm sure his dad as well is just... the nerves have gone from those early laps.
An update on some of the Danish riders. Joachim Parbo, 54th. Tommy Moberg Nielsen, 55th. Cameron Jett of Canada in 56th place.
We've got Cody Kaiser on there.
Cody Kaiser. Let's have a
We've been asked
look. Cody Kaiser, I'll get a quick update. 42nd at the moment, a place ahead of Anthony Clark of the United States of America. Wout van Aert is in danger of losing the silver medal position. Toon Aerts is closing in on him. The winner of the World Cup is producing a big effort now to close in on his teammate. And now where the gold medal's gone, team orders are off.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And we can see him, you know, he's in the same straights, and that's a huge carrot for Toon Aerts.
He's now 10 seconds behind. The camera will shorten that gap a little bit, but he is coming back. Let's take a look at Mathieu this time. Does he manage to ride it? He does. He sorted it out again. The back tyre just slipping and sliding. He took a different line that time. Slightly
lower under that pale section of sand. It was the gravel that they put down when it was icy on Saturday morning. A little bit lower on that one.
Round the turn this time. The off-camber is very, very tough. When we look at this on the camera, Simon, it looks flat, or flatter, but it isn't, is it? It's literally a hugely steep slope. Toon Aerts looks across. He can see Wout van Aert in front of him. Skids his way across there, rides that really nicely.
Finally, if he'd have done that on the early laps, that's what we needed, and that's what I think Van Aert needed Toon Aerts to do to stop that initial gap going that Vander Poel took.
Yeah, he's finally able to slide it, isn't he?
But so much pressure on those early laps. They were completely maxed out. It was full gas racing, and technical skill at that effort is the hardest thing. And you know, even just a couple of heartbeats less, like we're seeing them do now, is just makes it a little bit more doable.
The race situation, Mathieu Van Der Poel leads. Wout van Aert at 32 seconds. Toon Aerts now at 41 seconds, but closing in fast. The Belgian champion doing what he did in the Belgian Championship, which was close in on Wout van Aert and then surprise him and go clear to win the race. Coming up to the end of lap number 10. 26 kilometres completed already after 57 minutes. That was a 5:50 lap, 4 seconds slower than the lap previously. Wout van Aert comes round the corner at the bottom of the finishing straight. Those legs are really biting now. Toon Aerts coming round the corner, guided by Sven Nys.
It's going to be a long race, this. This is going to be hour and 8.
Yep.
Hour and 9. That's a long race. That's a lap too long in my opinion.
32 seconds now is the gap. Another 6 seconds is the time there, and Toon Aerts is now only 6 seconds behind Wout van Aert and heading to try and get the silver medal.
And that extra lap could be the one that makes the difference here, because Wout van Aert has put so much into this race in that first 30 minutes that it sounds like the difference between an hour and 3 minutes and an hour and 9 minutes isn't that huge, but at this level, that intensity, it certainly can make a difference.
Thanks, Jim, for reminding me that Tom Pidcock turned in his fastest lap was a 5:38. It wasn't him that did the cross the line at the end of each lap, and that is very similar to Mathieu Van Der Poel's fastest lap of a 5:35 that we have seen so far. But the fastest lap we've seen was Wout van Aert's 5:32 on lap 4 when he was trying to chase down Mathieu Van Der Poel and eventually caught him. So we know he had the legs. It's just that technique, that little thing, and Toon Aerts is about to catch him. Toon Aerts is just round the corner, and Wout slipping and sliding a little bit. He's not going to enjoy this one bit, because this is exactly what happened in the Belgian Championship. He's trying to stay clear. He wants to finish second. He's not one of those riders who'll go, I'm not going to win, therefore I'll just drop back, is he? He wants every single position he can.
I think so, yeah. These are racers, aren't they? They want to be as best as they can manage.
Came to a little standstill almost round there, kicking the bike. trying to get a little bit of traction.
And again, it's the corners like that Vander Poel is so exceptional on. Carrying the speed through the 180 corners.
Where would Tom Pidcock be compared to these riders?
Well, I would say he'd be somewhere between 5th and 10th.
5th and 10th.
I think, yeah. I think he's... Zonnebaker the day before Hoogerheide World Cup, he raced and he led for a while. He got caught by Kevin Powles and he was in that group. He finished the race in 2nd place, but he finished ahead of the kind of what I would, not being disparaging, the 2nd-ranked Belgians, the kind of the Dieter Sweeks and the Dieter Van Toornats, beg your pardon, and the other Sweek and the kind of the Kevin Powles, the ones that haven't quite made the Belgian team.
Yeah.
So he's thereabouts. I wouldn't have put him in this front group. I don't think he would have been podium potential in this race. But that group with Laurens Sweek and the Spaniard Aert, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him in that one. I'd kind of go in for that 4th, 5th.
Because he's still a very young rider.
Oh, he is, absolutely. No, he's going to... I don't have much doubt that he's going to make this the front of this race, and whether he does it next year, if he decides to go elite or stays under 23, is going to be interesting to find out during the summer.
Vander Poel onto the little section again. Look, even when the back wheel slides sidewards, he's still able to hold it. He's so confident. The top 10, Vander Poel, Van Aert, Toon Aert, now with Van Aert, Michael Van Toornhout, Laurens Sweek, Lars van der Haar, Quinten Hermans, Philippe Aert, Tim Merlier, Gianni Vermeesch. That's our top 10. Joris Nieuwenhuis is down in 13th. I think we might have expected him to be higher up today. But suddenly, Toon Aert is leading, and he rides this section, and both of them do, so there's more traction in that little area. But Toon Aert is going to try and take this race on and get the silver medal out of Wout van Aert. But I think if it comes down to a sprint between these two, Wout van Aert would be quicker.
Yeah, I'd put money on Van Aert in a sprint, I think.
Question from Steve Glennon, techie question. The riders look like they're all on one-by systems. What teeth are they on? Front and back?
Good question. On this race, I don't know. I would guess they'd be on 42 on the front, 40-42s. They'd be on, you don't need a hugely big sprocket on the back. I would guess 28s.
Philippe Aert of Spain down in 8th place. And here we are, coming up. Lap 11, 1 lap to go for Mathieu Van der Poel to clinch the rainbow bands for the 2nd time. The light is fading. He gives that full throttle this time. 1 hour and 3 minutes of racing. A 5:53 lap. He goes 3 seconds slower than the previous lap, but he's still got lots of time in hand. There's Wout van Aert and Toon Aert working together round the corner into the finishing straight. They were 32 seconds down last time. We'll see what they're going to be this time when they cross the line. Wout van Aert coming up to the completion of the penultimate lap. Van der Poel, meanwhile, is out on the course. 33 seconds, so they're not losing any more time. Adrie Van der Poel, the previous winner of this world title, the father of Mathieu, out and giving him a shout as he goes past the pits. 2 pits possible on each lap. But Mathieu knows he's just got around 5 minutes of racing to go. 5 minutes of effort to clinch the rainbow bands for the 2nd time in his career. Wout van Aert's put up a big fight. It hasn't happened so far today. Toon Aert searching for a medal in these World Championships. The top 10 remain the same. Toon Aert's heading for his first medal in the World Championships. For the top 10, Vander Poel, Van Aert, Toon Aert, Michael Van Turenhout, Laurens Sweeck, Lars van der Haar, Quinten Hermans, Marcel Miesen now into the top 10. Gianni Vermeersch and Jens Adams, and unfortunately Felipe Aert starting to drop away. The Spanish rider that we've been talking about a lot is finally out of the top 10 riders.
7 Belgians in the top 10, 8 Belgians in the top 11. That's,
wow.
But not the top step. 2 Dutch, 1 German. Yeah, Felipe Aert's had a great race. I'm hugely impressed with that effort. To get with that front group on the first lap and to stay with it for so long when it was really kicking off was a big effort from him. And I think there's more to come from
There is.
Aert.
There's some really impressive Spanish riders now in cyclocross.
The juniors were great in second in Hoogerheide.
Yep, Blanco.
Blanco, yeah.
He's been really good all season. Toon Aert is riding away from Wout van Aert a little bit. Van Aert responds. Mathieu van der Poel decides this time to not take any risks. Runs over the hurdles. Big attack from Toon Aert. Look at that. He's riding away from the former world champion. He looks around. That little slide early in the race has kind of cost Belgium the chance to challenge Mathieu van der Poel. And now Toon Aert is able to ride his own race. Bunny hops the hurdles. Wout van Aert, same thing. He does the same. 32 seconds is now the deficit. They're not going to bring Van der Poel back, but they're in a race for Belgian, the Belgian Worlds. Who's going to win the highest place medal? And Wout is all over the place now.
Yeah, I think we talk about the Belgians maybe not riding that section and allowing Mathieu van der Poel to get that gap. I think if it hadn't have been on that lap, it would have been a lap later or 2 laps later. I think that the way that we've seen Van der Poel ride that section lap after lap for 8 laps, the 9th lap he didn't quite get it right, but he was so much better on that I think it was just a matter of time. And even with that, he's been putting time in the rest of the lap as well. It's just these few seconds here and there. He's built up a gap of over 30 seconds, and it's not all been on this one section. This is that gave him the impetus to get the gap. But once he'd done that, he still had the legs and he still had the ability on the rest of the course.
But the way he's ridden that section is just so impressive. If you try to walk up that bank, it's just nigh on impossible. Toon Aert now has daylight. He's heading for his first World Championship medal. Behind him is Wout van Aert. Oh, he makes the mistake there. And Wout manages to almost do a little bunny hop up onto the banking, so he's coming back. Here is Mathieu van der Poel. Not far to go now for Mathieu to enjoy, and he's already celebrating. He's already cheering. He's giving the crowd these thanks for the way that they've supported him all season. He's pretty emotional already. For the last 3 years, he's come as the favourite to win the world title, particularly last year, and it's all gone horribly wrong. But today, Toon Aert crashes. Wout van Aert now accelerates away and attacks him hard. He's going to go for the silver. What a race we've had today. Loads of things to talk about in the analysis of this race. Wout van Aert kicks on. Toon Aert's hunting him down. It's just tiredness. It's just pushing yourself on the limit that causes these little errors. But get ready. This rider, he deserves this world title. He deserves the rainbow bands. He's been the best rider all season. There is no doubt whatsoever that this rider should be the world champion. He wears 1 and 1 on his sleeve. He is #1 in the world. The tears will flow. He gets off the bike. Well done, Mathieu van der Poel. He takes the world title after so much emotion in the last 3 years. He's going to have the rainbow bands finally. Just behind him is Wout van Aert. He takes the silver. These are the top 3 riders in the world this season. It is 1 Mathieu van der Poel, 2 Wout van Aert, 3 Toon Aert in his emergence season here in World Cyclo-cross. Finally, Simon, he gets it.
Yeah, absolutely, completely deserved. That's what we wanted to see. I think everybody wanted to see Mathieu Vander Poel in rainbow stripes. But what a great race by Vander Poel, by Wout van Aert. Full respect for taking the race to the Dutch. They really tried to put a number on them in the early laps. And Toon Aert as well, World Cup winner. And I think those three, you know, that's the three names that are justified on that podium.
Lars van der Haar crosses the line, a previous medalist. Well done to him. He was the rider, as far as selfless teamwork is concerned, that when Vander Poel went, he just looked round, he freewheeled, he looked for the Belgians, and he let the gap go, and that was it, game over. Van Aert came back, but yet again, Vander Poel on the second time on that technical section where he tried it, he just rode away. But it was a superb race to watch, it really was. Toon Aert's going in to recover. Here's that crash that cost him the silver. Just pushing it too hard.
Yeah, just turned a little bit tight at the bottom, didn't he? Front wheel went from under him. And that was a big effort as well from him to get back to Wout van Aert, that previous lap. Because that, again, that gap to me looked insurmountable. That 20-25 seconds between Toon Aert and Wout van Aert.
At the finish line, Wout van Aert was 16 seconds behind Mathieu van der Poel. Toon Aert's 25 seconds down. Behind them, Van Turenhout in fourth place. But here's Mathieu.
Mathieu, congratulations. Jolly good. You had to wait three years since your first title. And it looked like today you wanted it really badly.
Yeah, it was a lot of weight coming off the shoulders. Crossing that finish line was a very long race for me, and finally it all comes together again.
Can you bring us a bit inside your race? The three first laps were very fierce, very contested, and then it changed a bit.
Yeah, the course was it was pretty hard actually. We rode on the Reno tires, and it was quite difficult to make some speed on this course. But I immediately felt that that was good, and Wout did a pretty strong first half of the race, and coming back to me was yeah, I had to be strong also mentally, and I'm very happy to pull it off today.
What made the difference this year? I mean, the winning mix of ingredients were all there this year compared to the previous ones?
Yeah, I think so. I've had an incredible season so far, and yeah, I was very confident today, but still it's a World Championship and it's always hard to win, but I'm glad I can wear the jersey again. It's been too long.
Last year you won in this on this course with the same podium actually in front of this huge crowd today. This turf seems to suit you very well.
Yeah, as I said, I like the course also last year and this year again, and I knew that it was in my favor, and I was confident when I did the lap on Friday, but like I said, you still need to have the legs to pull it off.
Maybe a few words in Dutch for the Netherlands and for the Dutch audience.
Ja, heel blij om eindelijk terug wereldkampioen te zijn. Het is toch 3 jaar geleden. Dus ik ben heel blij dat het eindelijk nog eens gelukt is.
And last, maybe a few words in French for your grandfather, the famous Raymond Poulidor, who must be very, very proud of you today.
Oui, j'espère que mon grand-père est vraiment fier de moi, mais je pense qu'il est toujours.
Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you.
Mathieu van der Poel, the winner of today's race. It was very, very tough out there in the early stages, but this is the moment when the race changed. Look at Lars van der Haar. Watch his body language. Again, if you replay that, the top of that climb where he just looks round and thinks, that's it, game over, we've done what we needed to do. Wout van Aert came back, but that was the moment when the world title was won. The moment where he had to get off the bike and Van der Poel just raced on. That is the difference at world level. It's so precise.
It is, yeah. And you can't give Mathieu van der Poel opportunities like that. And when you do, he takes advantage of them. And puts 20 seconds into everybody else. So yeah, that was, you know, it's technically, physically, he's been the best rider all season. But yeah, I think Wout van Aert, he came here not wanting to give up those stripes, and respect to him for taking the battle to Vander Poel.
Well, Van Aert looking around, he fiercely defended his world title, but today it just wasn't to be. He's done everything he possibly could. He trained like crazy, went abroad again to try and get some sunshine, to try and get some morale. And Toon Aerts has been the rider, the revelation of the season. He won Waterloo World Cup, he won in Iowa. He won the World Cup overall with his second place in Hoogerheide. As Mathieu now just recovers and cleans up ahead of today's presentation. Here's the top 10. Vander Poel wins in 1 hour, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Wout van Aert second, Toon Aerts in third place. Then it's Van Turenhout, who recovered after last week. Laurens Sweeck in fifth. Van der Haar, great teamwork, in sixth place. And the only break-up of the Dutch and the Belgians is Marcel Meesen in eighth place with his strong performance there in eighth. That's a long race. 1 hour, 9 minutes, 20 seconds.
That's a long day out, yeah, for sure.
This is the run-through of the top 20, and you'll be able to just digest these. Curtis White of the USA there, 21st place. Francis Moret in his final race, 26th. He's previously been a medalist. There's these little slides. This is the moment, this is the place in the race where everything changed for everyone, really. Now we're going to see Wout riding for Jumbo Visma on the road and competing in the classics, and I think Vander Poel's going to do the same.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. You know, we everybody, all the cross fans, enjoyed watching Wout van Aert last year doing Strade Bianche in Flanders, Omloop. So it'll be interesting to see the two of them. I'm sure with a pedigree like Mathieu van der Poel, there'll be a few teams keeping an eye on him.
I read a really interesting article last night in Pro Cycling magazine by Roger Hammond, who said that he can't wait to watch these two riders ride the classics, because he believed that when he was riding cyclocross, it was the best preparation for the classics. And at that time in cycling, it was kind of frowned upon. He wasn't allowed. He was banned from riding cyclocross by his World Tour team, or not World Tour team at the time, but Pro Tour by Discovery, and they said, you're not allowed to ride. And he said, well, it's my preparation for the classics.
Yeah.
And now he believes, and everyone now sees that it was the right preparation. It made a massive difference.
Yeah, there's not many weeks now, and you know, these guys are at the top of their, you know, intensity. I think the only difference is, and what we expected last year was not to see Van Aert at the front after 6 hours.
Yeah.
But he was able to do it, and he was competitive, and he was top 10 in all the big races he did. So there's a few weeks yet. Obviously, they'll still carry on riding the remaining. There's still 3 more weekends of cross races in Belgium. I think 5 or 6 races for the likes of Van der Poel and Van Aert. And after that, there's only, what's the week after the last cross race? I think it's Omloop.
Omloop is 28 days away.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
It's not long now. The riders are already racing in Challenge Mallorca, which is kind of the start of the season as far as the build-up to the classics is concerned. We've already had the Tour Down Under, the Herald Sun Tour, so it will be interesting to see these guys on the road very soon. We're waiting for the presentation. Thank you to all of you who've messaged Simon, messaged me at Simon Burney at Ant McCrossan over the last 2 days. Thanks for messaging at UCI_cycling. Don't forget you can visit UCI.org for all the information on the cyclocross season and the build-up to the World Championships of the various disciplines. If you're ever looking for information, you can just join us there and get all the insights that you need, and follow, of course, the Twitter feed, which give some other unique content. We're waiting now for the presentation of Mathieu van der Poel, and today the Dutch have had a very good day. Just like yesterday where Great Britain took 2 golds, the Dutch have taken 2 golds today. The sun is fading on Bogense, which has seen an event the likes of which they've never seen before.
Well, I don't know about sailing regattas. Maybe there's been something on the water, but certainly as far as cycling goes, it's been an exceptional weekend. And the crowds have come out, the huge crowd today.
Here's the highlights of today's race. What a race to absorb and enjoy over the last hour or so. Mathieu van der Poel making his way to enjoy the presentation of today's race. Mathieu will be on the podium in just a moment, and there's going to be 2 Belgian riders joining him. We're ready now for the presentation. Things are getting ready. There's the rainbow jersey about to be presented.
Dan gaan ze niet terugkomen, dat zag ik ook, weet je. Dus gewoon kwijt. Je was ook diep gegaan. Zorg dat je niet koud wordt.
Ja, dank u wel. Alleen maar jongen.
The race of the weekend then, Simon?
Under 23 women, I think, for me.
Yep.
Yep.
Hard fought.
Hard fought, exciting, close. Lots of riders in that front group.
That was a great race. The podium presentation of the final race of the weekend. The UCI 2019 Cyclo-cross World Championship for elite men.
Ceremony of the 2019 UCI Cyclo-cross World Championships from Bogense, Denmark.
Mine damer og herrer, så er vi klar til den ærefulde præmieoverrækkelse her ved verdensmesterskaberne i cykelcross her i Bogense.
During this award ceremony for the man elite category, all the medals will be presented by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Frederik from Denmark, and the rainbow jersey will be presented by Mr. David Lapartien, our UCI president.
Og medaljerne vil blive overrakt af hans kongelige højhed, kronprins Frederik, og regnbuetrøjen, den vil blive overrakt af UCI's præsident, David Lapartien.
Ladies and gentlemen, in third place, representing Belgium, the winner of the bronze medal.
Mine damer og herrer, på tredjepladsen og vinder af bronzemedaljerne, repræsenterende Belgien,
Toon Aert takes his first elite World Championship medal.
Out of the hands of His Royal Highness Crown Prince Frederik from Denmark. Your applause, please, for our bronze medalist, Toon Aert from Belgium. In second place, representing Belgium, the winner of the silver medal.
Og mine damer og herrer, på andenpladsen og vinder af sølvmedaljerne, repræsenterende Belgien, Wout van Aert!
Wout van Aert, the winner of the silver. 5 years in a row, he's been on the podium of the World Championships 3 times as the winner.
And then, in first place, the winner today in Bogense, the winner of the gold medal and the new UCI World Champion in the men elite category, representing the Netherlands.
Og nu, mine damer og herrer, tag godt imod den nye verdensmester og vinder af guldmedaljerne, repræsenterende Holland,
Mathieu Vander Poel gets back the rainbow bands. He first won them in 2015 in Tabor, where he beat Wout van Aert and Lars van der Haar. And every year since, he has tried his utmost to take the title.
And also, he will receive the gold medal presented by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Frederik from Denmark. And then, of course, we have flowers to give to our 3 riders on the podium.
Det har vi, og de 3, der skal have blomster på podiet, skal overrækkes af borgmester her i byen, her i Nordfyn Kommune, Morten Andersen, som overrækker blomster til nummer 3, 2 og nummer 1.
The flowers will be presented by Mr. Morten Andersen, the mayor of Northern Funen. Flowers for Toon, flowers for Wout, and of course, flowers for our new UCI World Champion, Mathieu Vander Poel! Ladies and gentlemen,
And now for the national anthem of the Netherlands for the second time today.
Anthem of the Netherlands. UCI Cyclo-cross World Championships in
the best 3 riders in the world are on the podium. They've been the out-and-out standout riders of 2018-19, and there they are. 2 Belgians and 1 Dutchman who has been, without doubt, the best cyclocross rider in the world. No one can argue that. He won nearly every round of the World Cup. Van Aert won 1, Toon Aert's won 2, and Vander Poel won the rest.
Cyclocross weekend for all the cyclocross fans from all around the world. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot for all your vocal support.
The crowd will enjoy now the final celebrations of this year's World Championships, while Mathieu signs the jerseys and joins all the other winners. We've seen some thrilling racing over the last 2 days. So, Simon, it's been a great World Championships. we've seen some upsets, but today wasn't one of them.
No, this afternoon it wasn't. This morning I think it was. But yeah, like you say, a great weekend for a little town in Denmark to promote a World Championships like this. And I think a few people came here expecting, you know, maybe slightly less interesting course than we saw. But it proved to be a good course to race on. It proved to be technical, it proved to be very physical, and you know, you can see by the crowd the Danish have embraced this weekend, and I think it's been a great championships.
It certainly has. David Lepartien, the president of the UCI, thanking His Royal Highness the Crown Prince of Denmark for being there to present the awards on the final day. The Dutch are going to celebrate, the Belgians are going to celebrate, and everyone else is just going to enjoy the atmosphere, I'm sure. This man will be in the rainbow bands next season, and it will be very fitting to see him in those rainbow bands in the various World Championships. He's been so focused today. Well, we'll look out across a little town in Denmark that's welcomed cycling with open arms over the last 48 hours. We've had a great time here. We've enjoyed the racing. And to all of you, thanks very much for all your messages. From Simon Burney and myself, Anthony McCrossan, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We'll be back with more cyclocross when the season starts again. In the meantime, bye for now.
Sweeping down off the Kattegat. It's icy, and we are underway. It's history repeating itself. This could be it. This could be the moment. The drama that we needed has come right at the end of this race. This is going to be the venue for the 2019 UCI World Championships. As they streak towards the bridges of white.